What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wizards of Amazon podcast, where we cover all things private label. My name is Carlos Alvarez, and I'll be your host for this show. I'm extremely excited to have on the show today Sal. Sal, what's up?
Hey, Carlos and everybody listening. I'm so happy to be here and just excited to share with you guys everything about what's going on in my life and all the information that I can provide that will add value to your business. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And since I know you personally, I'm calling you Sal, but for those that don't know you, I hope I get this name right. Vassallo, is that right?
Yeah,
Salvador Vassallo?
Vassallo is fine. Yeah.
Vassallo.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just Sal, that's how I know him. Sal, I think
Sal's good. Just call Sal.
Just call Sal. Yeah, right. Better call Sal.
Yeah, better call Sal. There you go.
I love that show. We first met, I guess officially met, was in San Diego.
Yeah.
At which conference?
It was at the Social Media World Conference.
Yes.
And I was a follower of you on the meetup. I admired your work, and I saw you sitting there, and the network guy that I am, I went rapidly over there and said, Carlos, my name is Sal. It's so good to meet you.
Yeah, you brought all the weapons with you too. You brought your amazing, beautiful family. It seems like there's entrepreneurs like run straight through your family.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I was taking my daughters to the social media world. I really want them to get engaged in social media and impact the world with their stories. It's important.
Are you going to be returning to social media marketing world this year? I believe I am.
Yeah, I might. I'm considering it. I'm doing a lot of trips now. So I just got back from Miami when I went to visit you. So that was an awesome experience, man. I love your group so much. I feel like I'm part of the family,
Oh, you are. You don't have to feel it. You are part of the family.
I really want everybody to be a part of that group who lives in Florida, and because there's so much value there. And I think that people progress when they're really, in a community where they're like-minded and they're on a mission together and helping each other. And I know that's what's going on there. So I'm very excited, and I want to support that group in any way that I can.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Keep flattering. I love it. But
it's the truth, man.
Yeah.
I'm not here to lie.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
A lot of people don't like to say things that are true because they're embarrassed to share their feelings. I've learned that, being sincere and communicating the truth is okay. It's like if I was doing it intentionally to please you or something, it's not okay.
Right.
But I really do admire the work that you're doing, and I love the group. So, hey, that's the truth, man.
It's an easy one. And the group for the listeners that are not part of the group, it's South Florida FBA Amazon sellers on meetup.com, or we call ourselves Wizards of Amazon anywhere on social media. That's what we're referring to. And the group that Sal just mentioned he was following, and when we met at Social Media Marketing World, Sal's actually presented, blow the roof off on his presentation twice already. Once pretty shortly thereafter, towards the beginning of this year, right?
Yes. I went there and shared about, what buyers are looking for. Basically, about mergers and acquisitions. I specialize in selling online businesses. So my experience is basically, I've evaluated hundreds of different types of e-commerce businesses, and I've sold millions and millions of dollars worth of companies. And I've seen, throughout the years, tendencies that I've been trying to help people overcome those pitfalls and really maximize their profits when they're planning an exit, and actually build their business, accordingly, so that they can sell at the right time whenever they have to. It's terrible to have to sell and not be ready to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had never heard it framed like that until you presented at that meetup group. So when I heard it, I've been on this mission to launch the podcast, I think for 2.5 years, but as soon as I heard you present, I said, I gotta get Sal on the podcast when it comes out. And then you returned this last Saturday and did Successful Entrepreneur Mindset, which I'm totally going to take advantage of your time in future episodes and get you back on for that. But I want to start really with that first presentation that you did and dive into that topic more. So the listeners, I think every entrepreneur with a business can gain a great deal of value from this. Yeah. And you are the man for that. I tell you, I've sold a bunch of businesses. The next business I sell, better call Sal. That's what's going to happen.
Well, it's all, for me, I provide a service, but I think the most, I help people connect and buy the right property, the right company, and, you know, try to get them to sell at the right time. And for, you know, it's important to me to be able to provide that service, and, you know, for you guys to be happy with the service, right? And so one of the things that really made me step out and start, you know, teaching about how to prepare your business to sell is having friends come to me with their business and with different defects that really, really affect their selling price. And if you'd like, I can mention them just now that we're talking about it. You know, I think like the most important, one of the things that happens frequently is that Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers come when they're in a downward trend, right? And that affects their selling price significantly, because buyers take advantage of that, even though they could probably, you know, get those sales and revenues up quickly. They still use that as an excuse to, you know, really lowball the offer. So if a business is in an upward trend, at 20% upward trend, like it sold at, you know, let's say it made revenues of $200,000 last year, and then 240 this year, that business can sell at a multiple of 4 or even 5 of net profit. That's 4 years of profit. So it could sell at 1.2, maybe 800,000, you know, $900,000. But that same business, if it comes like a couple months later and it's sold 200,000 and then 160,000, it'll sell at a multiple of 2 of a net profit or less. It might not even sell depending on the inventory levels, you know, because it just affects it so much. So they lose literally more than 50% of the value in a matter of potentially 6 months. So this has happened to me. And the reason that I come, you know, and I have this message is because I really hate to be put in that position, especially with friends, you know, because it feels like I'm underperforming, but
Right.
it's really the market that establishes the price. So for me to have people prepare their business and to sell at the right time is the best strategy for me as a mergers and acquisitions broker, because as more people can do this and plan their exit, then I'll be more successful. Yeah, we will all be more successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as far as underperforming, I don't even think you know how to underperform. Like you're just driven.
I try my best, man.
I did this a little backward, and we didn't really get into anything about, I think you said you got into this because you saw that your friends needed something like this. How did you get into mergers and acquisitions? Can the listeners know a little bit about you,
Yeah.
Sal?
Yeah. So, I've always been selling, you know, I've been selling
On Amazon?
well, no. I've always been selling businesses. I've been in that field. I love people and I love to serve. So, you know, from the very beginning, since I was a kid, I would sell M&Ms at school. I would sell guppies. I'd sell anything, man. I want to say something, you know, the chupacabra, you know,
Mm-hmm.
well, I used to sell the farts of chupacabras, which is kind of weird. I put them in a bag
Oh my
and
God.
I put that liquid and I put them in all the different activities. So I had this, you know, which is kind of funny, but I was a kid and I just wanted to make money and also have fun. And so I've always been selling. And then in 2000, I started selling businesses and real estate in Miami when the big boom was happening on real estate. And we were doing a lot of condo conversions and sold a lot of properties and apartments. And while I was there, I met a friend named Rick Latona, and he's the owner of Latona's. And so he is one of the largest domain holders in the world, has over 800,000 domains, and he's partnered up with GoDaddy and all these other companies. So he moved to Puerto Rico and reached out to me about 5 years ago and said, Sal, man, I'd love for you to work with me. Do you want to do it? And I said, it was a great opportunity for me because I love selling and I love communicating. So that's how I started in online businesses. But I've always been selling, whether it's real estate or companies, like commercial. Yeah.
And how did you get tied into, I guess, the Amazon world? Like, because everyone in my space knows about you. What was your first foray into that?
Well, the thing was that when I started selling businesses online, it was mostly content websites and SaaS companies. Amazon wasn't really, people didn't know that they could sell their company. It wasn't until about 4 years ago that that started happening. And I kind of caught that wave in the beginning when you could sell anything that had the Amazon component to it. So it was great. I would go to the conventions, and I was pretty strategic in my networking. I would, get my VIP pass and I'd go there and meet with the big players and just, serve them, and actually try to be their friends. I love people, so it's not hard for me to I'm interested in people for some reason. I think that's a gift that I have, and I really see special things in people. So I kind of roll with it. I didn't know that. It's now that I'm discovering these things through coaching and mentorship that I'm being exposed to.
Okay, and what you said a little bit ago about selling an entrepreneur being in a better position to sell their business when they want to and not when they need to. Did I say that right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's one thing that I've come up with, and I was kind of impressed with that saying because, I think a successful entrepreneur is a person who, sells their company when they should, not when they have to, right? Most people sell their company when they have to or when they want to, and not when they should. And the thing about that, and I discuss it in the course that's going to come out next month, it's called the e-commerce exit strategy, is while your business is generating a lot of revenue and you're profitable, you kind of don't want to sell, right? So because you're just like in a euphoria, you see
Right.
these guys are just making money and it just feels great. They go to the conventions, they're partying and traveling and having a lot of fun, but they're not being strategic and they're not being intentional and they don't have a real plan, right? So it just so happens that for me, my message is you should build your business with a strategy from the very beginning.
With
You
an
should
exit
have a goal.
strategy.
Yeah, you should have a goal. Every person should have goals, right? Specific goals. I'm going to build this business. I'm going to invest $75,000 in it, and I'm going to sell it in 5 years for $500,000, $1 million, whatever that goal is. But once you have a goal, you have a finish line, and then you know when to exit. But you have to be very, and I discuss this because of the emotions that happen while you're growing your business. Your mind plays a lot of games. There's greed, there's fear, there's ego, you just kind of go through all these kinds of thought processes. So it takes a very strong mindset and a determination of knowing where you're going to be. Where do you want to be in 10 years, right? Because there's a big picture goal and then there's smaller goals. Because think of this, Carlos, I just, want to take advantage and help anybody that I can. Some of us are good at building, but not good at maintaining or even scaling levels way beyond our imaginations, right? So maybe you have the ability to build a business and take it to 5 million, but can you take it to 20 million, right? Sometimes you need outsource, and you need investors. Sometimes you need more skill sets, leadership skills, and not all entrepreneurs have that maintaining capacity. Dealing with employees is a
No,
challenge.
that's an amazing point. I'd have to say, even when I heard it the first time I heard you say this at the meetup, I I immediately kind of ducked my head down on the part about, start a business with the exit strategy in mind, because I've never done that.
Yeah.
I've never done it. It always sounded like great advice. And if for me, I guess it's my Achilles heel. I've sold a lot of businesses over the last decade that I started on Amazon, but all of the businesses I started, and maybe you can even give me some advice on this, I started them with a heavy emotional connection. Like
Oh,
I'd start the business and I'd say, my grandkids are going to work here and this is going to
oh,
stay in
yeah.
the family. And
We're built that way, right?
right. So
But yeah.
that emotional connection, I feel, and maybe I'm just tricking myself. Like I felt that's what gave me that impulse to work 70, 80, 90 hours a week in that stage. If it was
Right.
just, if it wasn't that emotion, I wouldn't have done it. And the other point you said about being good at certain things to a certain level, I thrive in that, you know, idea, strategy, sourcing, making it
Building.
go gangbusters, but I don't
Yeah.
want anything to do with the admin side of it.
Oh,
I try to fire
engage.
myself as the CEO. Like, I don't even like it. You're
You're an
100% right.
entrepreneur, man.
Yeah. I
You're
don't,
a creator. You're a
yeah, I don't want to be
creator.
a CEO.
Right. Can you imagine if you had a great strategy where you're saying, hey, all I'm going to do is build businesses, right? And not only that, build businesses with a strategy. Like, I'm going to build a business, take it to 5 million, take it to 2 million, exit, use that lump, because you make your money when you sell your business. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people think that they're making money throughout the process because they're making $20, $30, $40,000 a month.
But they're
Can you
trading that off
imagine?
for time.
That's all good, but can you imagine getting $2-3 million wire transfer to your bank account, brother, and then having that acquisition power? You can invest in other brands, or you can acquire underperforming assets that are selling at a multiple of 1 of net profit, and actually add your skill set to it, blow that company up and scale it, and then sell it. So it's just like a real estate person who is building. They buy houses and they remodel, they rent, or they sell, but they continue to grow their assets, right? And grow their value with a strategy that has to do with buying low, selling high. You know, and all you guys that are out there listening, you guys have the capability, have the technology, know how to do it. And so I just think it's about mindset. It's about opening your eyes to the possibility. And also, and this is important because I've seen people try it and that have failed because they build the business to sell it, but they're not really passionate about it. So you have to be careful. I had one company just now that I was selling. The guy built it with the purpose of selling it, but he wasn't very successful because he wasn't dedicating the time. So you have to be ready. You know, you can't start doing that if you're not ready and if you don't have the team to do that with, because you can't do it all, right? Carlos, you know that. You have like 250 VAs or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. 242.
So it takes time, it takes growth, right? But I want people to dream big and have short-term goals, you know, and have those goals and attack each goal in each phase of their development throughout their life. Not just building without knowing where to go. It's like a ship that leaves the port without a direction, without a mission. You know, if you know exactly where you're going, you're going to land. But if you have no clue, you're going to probably end up in a reef somewhere, wrecked.
Yeah, no, that's gospel there. So let's switch it a little bit. Let's talk about now the I guess the owner in the business, and taking this, since it's an Amazon podcast, taking this to Amazon. And I'm going to focus more on private label sellers, but something you said in the group I want to touch on for anyone that's maybe transitioning to private label or anything like that. You mentioned that, you know, wholesale businesses, arbitrage businesses, all these different types of business models can be sold.
Yeah, they can be sold and there is value in them, right? It depends on your, I've sold many, but one of the things that people look for, so this is important, I cover it in the course, is, you know, when you build your business, you should build it looking at what buyers want, right? That's one of the things, you know, what are buyers looking for? And, you know, the reason the exit strategy exists and why I did this course is because I've sold a lot of companies, but I've had like 5 different companies, great experiences where the entrepreneur built the business knowing his buyer. So he knew what his buyer wanted, right? He knew he wanted email lists, he wanted good suppliers, he wanted, you know, an easy transferable asset that he can manage, audit, you know, with all the, you know, good tools and everything. So you build your business looking for the right buyers. Now, if you're in arbitrage or if you're in a wholesaler, there are things that buyers are looking for in that space, like the domains. You know, if you're an Amazon, but there's always a domain, there's a trademark that has value if it has to do with that niche or that space or that, discount, whatever you're doing, right? So I sold one called Hometown Discounts, and the domain was very attractive. The email list was very attractive to the buyer, and also his suppliers. It sold for $500,000, SBA loan, commingled accounts. I mean, I didn't think,
Wow.
it was a great deal. So yeah, when you're doing these kinds of businesses that are difficult to sell because of there's no, like, you feel like there's nothing
And
original about it or
no
something.
assets or
No
something.
assets, right? But the assets are in the email list. The assets are in the good relationships with the supplier. The assets are the domain, the platform, and the Amazon seller account, the reviews. These things have value because there are strategic buyers that are in that business that want your clients and want your suppliers. You understand?
For sure, yeah. Absolutely. And you're just short circuiting it for them so they don't have to invest all that time and money to get where you're already at.
Exactly, exactly. Can you imagine, for me, I mean, private label is just a perfect example. I mean, for you, if you wanted to, why would you want to start a whole new brand?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, you spend a year and you might not get, it might not work out,
Right.
and then you can
And if
buy,
that brand already has, licensing agreements and it has their
and
processes built,
trademark.
trademarked, everything's good. Yeah, it's
The
definitely
seller account, the seller channels and everything. I mean, I've sold some for $20,000.
right.
I sold this one, which was amazing. I was thinking about buying it, but I'm not, I can't do everything. And I kind of like get involved with a lot of things. So,
Sure.
but
You're
it was like,
exploding, man.
yeah, there was this company that had a great product. It was essential oils, a great name, great product, but it was this lady, she dedicated a lot of time to the branding, to the bottling, to the packaging, to the trademark. She didn't know how to sell, man. And in this space, they'll eat you up. It's not about it's not about having the packaging, man. It's about, listing it correctly and
Yeah. You have a
getting
great
those,
product, but you can't sell, no marketing, no
oh,
PPC, you're just dead.
dead. So yeah, I've run into a lot of those mom and pop shops that come out with a great brand name and not very successful and want to dump the deal. And I see value in that. Although I'm kind of like getting out of that, Carlos, because for me, my time is a little bit more valuable. So I want to do businesses that are generating higher revenues and that are doing better. But
Okay.
at that time, I was selling anything I could, So, but I run into them, So if anybody's interested, they can tell me. I can send them your way. Yeah.
Definitely. Let's talk a bit about, I think you're like the most qualified person to actually answer this. Best practices, and let me see if I'm wording this right. Best practices from business setup almost, and things you should do and not do within your business as an Amazon seller to make you more attractive or more easily transferable in a sale. Well, what would you say to that?
Well, the best practice would be having your financials in order. And it's so easy to do with all the tools that are available. The best practice is to have everything, your LLC, tied to one bank account, and don't use that bank account for personal expenses unless you're reporting them as part of the expenses of the company. One of the major problems that I run into that make a company very difficult to sell is that their financials and their proof of income and their data is not accessible because they have a lot of commingling and messes. And so what happens? What would you think? What would you do if you run into a company that their financials are a mess? It's a risk,
Yeah.
because what you don't know,
Yeah.
right? So it becomes a huge risk, and that will affect majorly your, value, just because, and I want to make everybody understand that with a good accountant, you don't have to fear. One of the major problems is fear. They fear opening up their finances. They don't, and my wife is like that. She doesn't like to do the accounting thing, and she's a gastroenterologist, and I know what it feels like to have an account, a third party come in and look at all your expenses. We travel a lot, we spend a lot of money, and we kind of don't want everybody to see our stuff, you know? But I really want, you know, your team and all your followers to understand not to fear, you know, an accountant coming in and putting your stuff together. You know, it's not going to cost thousands of dollars. So, I mean, you can just do income statements, P&Ls. There's another thing that I'd like to add value. It's in the course, but I want to throw it out there. Can I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the tax returns. This is a big, important thing. All you guys know that SBA is now approving loans, right? So one of the things that happens frequently is that we don't report our taxes correctly. And so that limits our ability to get loans. And you really don't need to report all, you know, like, let's say you have 4 years of trajectory, you know, the year before your exit, that you've targeted that exit, and maybe a year, 2 years before, start reporting accurately your taxes and pay your taxes. And I'll tell you why. And you know, there's always room to report those, you know, discretionary expenses. And I think everybody knows what those are. Those are like travel expenses, your car expenses, anything that you use that is not an operational expense. You know, you can also use that to lower your tax bracket. You know, you don't have to pay so much. But the thing is, I had a company I sold for $1.8 million. It was a coffee filter company, and we had it listed at 1.8, but all the offers were at 1.2 cash because we couldn't get SBA financing. Now, I was selling it right during that tax season. So I told the seller, listen, report taxes, man. Put in there, pay your taxes. Let's see your profits in those taxes, and we're going to be able to sell. Dude, I sold it for $1.8 million, full price. He paid like $250,000 in taxes, but he made $400,000 in his sale. There was no way anybody, see, a person can't come out and just put $1 million down cash. You know, we have many types of buyers. Most of them, a lot of them are private investors. We have hedge funds, we have capital investors, but private investors, you know, professionals like real estate agents and stuff, or real estate brokers, or lawyers or bankers, and people that have cash, they usually come with like $500,000 or maybe $250,000 in savings. And the reason they're getting into online business is because the return in their investment is much higher than traditional investment vehicles.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's, they want to get into the online space. But if they have $200,000, they can buy a $1.8 million business because they only pay 20% down and get the loan. But if you don't have your taxes and your finances in order, then you're missing out on a great opportunity to sell your business at a very high price.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Oh,
Yeah.
Let me ask you something regarding the adding to this, the person that has their account set up, and say they, you know, brand registry is a really important thing on Amazon. So they go out and get a trademark, and their first foray into private label doesn't really work. And they were selling kitchen products, let's just say, for this example. And then they really hit their stride on a pet product, and they go all in on this pet product, but their account is selling kitchen products, pet products. Some of the products on the kitchen side are just, you know, duds.
Right.
What's the impact there, and what do you suggest?
Well, to be completely honest, in the beginning, when we started selling Amazon companies, there was a huge impact, right? It kind of like affected the whole deal because they're all over the place and they're in different categories. And just think of it as a buyer. A buyer wants to have a simple operation. They're looking for simplicity, transferability. You know, they want it to be easy to run and good suppliers. So if you have like a lot of SKUs and it's a little complicated because you're in different niches, you know, you need to be an expert in marketing all these different niches in one, you know, seller account. But the thing is, I've sold companies at a good valuation with multiple, niches. But it's recommended that if you're going to launch a new product in a whole different category, you should go ahead and it's a little bit tedious. Just go ahead and open up another LLC, buy a domain that's similar, make that brand, man. That's going to be significant in the long run, and you can start doing it now, even if you're not ready to buy it or build it now. If you have in your heart someday wanting to get into some kind of vertical, then go ahead and, start that process, right? So that you can just launch whenever you're ready. But be strategic in your timing, because if you got your company, and Carlos, this is what happens most of the time, people get into other niches and other verticals and they let go of their first asset. And then that asset loses value, and then the other one doesn't take off and they get into big problems. So I would be
whereas they should have sold it.
They should have sold it, got the money, and then, if, hey, you want to build, okay, you really like the supplement space, right? Okay, and you're in the toy space. Well, start building that stuff, but keep your focus, get this one ready to sell, get it listed. So this is important. It'll take about 3 to 6 months to sell your business, right? And it'll take about a month to prepare it to sell if you're ready, right? If you already done some things prior. So it can be a pretty long process. So you got to understand that when you put your business to sell, it's still generating revenue, and the buyers want to buy it with good revenue, at least stable, with inventory. They don't want the company without inventory. You had 10 SKUs, now you have 3 SKUs and you're running out of inventory. So now I got to order it from Japan before I close. And oh my God, this is a big problem. Forget it. I don't want it. You understand? Mm-hmm. So the business, when you put it to sell, you need to keep operating it like if it was the first day, man. So what I use for that, this analogy is, I used to be a swimmer, went to the Olympics, and there's like a 400 relay, right? The 400 freestyle relay. So the first swimmer in the relay is always the second fastest. The second is, good. He's the third fastest. The third is the worst of the relay. He's the slowest leg. And the fourth swimmer is always the fastest, the one with the fastest time. They want to close fast, right? So usually when you're building your business, you have this cycle where you're very excited, you're building it, you're doing it good. The second year, you're really optimizing all your components. You're really finding out what's worked, what doesn't work. The third year, you might get bored or tired.
Complacent,
and not looking at things like you did the first 2 years. And so it's important that we know where we're at mentally, and, because the most important thing is to finish strong. And because that's what's going to make you a successful entrepreneur. And that's how when I built the course, the exit strategy, I started looking at the mindset of a successful entrepreneur. And that's how I got into that whole performance accelerator program that I'm also developing. So it's kind of cool, performance is great. It's important.
Yeah, performance is always great.
Yeah, you got to be on top of it, man. It's like, you can't just do things because without thinking and having the big picture.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier a course that you're working on. I don't know if it's soon to come out or where you're at with that. You called it eComm exit strategy.
Yes, that'll be out probably by December. I think I'm done. I'll be done this year, this month. It's a good course. I've got one of my friends. His name is Harry Dent. He's a world-renowned economist. He's a specialist in cycles and in trends.
Was that who I just saw you interviewing?
Yeah. So
it was on Stories or something.
Yeah. So he's a Harvard business graduate, very well known all over the world. He was the one that predicted the fall of Japan economy in the 1980s. He was very famous back then. And then, he predicted the bubble of the techs and of the housing. So he's very smart, and he's been my mentor for 2 years. I take him out to lunch and I serve him, and he's helped me a lot. And he did a module in the course about the S curve, and that talks about the cycles of business. And, you know, he talks about how to take advantage of recessions and how to grow during those dips in the economy. So it's got some good content.
Yeah, I'd love to link to him in the show notes. What was the name? Harvey Dent? Where's a good place to
Harry
find him?
Dent, Harry Dent.
Harry Dent.
Yeah, Harry Dent. You can find him. His last book was called The Last Hour.
The Last Hour by Harry
Yeah,
Dent.
yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, nobody likes to hear about upcoming dips in the economy
But it's
because,
reality.
yeah, so what happens, you know, it's kind of funny the way he uses it. People are, when the economy is booming, people are in a euphoric stage. It's similar to the sex process where
Mhm.
you can't let go until you have your, you know, that
Boom.
ecstasy. Yeah. And so you can tell them, hey, be careful. You have to really be strategic in this time, but they don't listen because they're FOMO. It's the FOMO. And so, you know, it's a part where he struggles because his communication isn't all that loved, but it's probably the number one thing you should be listening to because he's connected to all the big players, you know. He knows what the billionaires do, right?
And this is who you partnered with for this course, or this
Yeah.
person is?
Well, he's doing a module for me. He's doing one of the modules to help, you know, to help communicate a little bit about the S curve and the cycles of business and tech and brands. So it's going to add some value, a lot of value, actually. I'm actually partnered with a person called Bo Crabble, who's a really great Amazon seller. He's been doing courses for many years. He's 21 years old. He was
Awesome.
the one that asked me to do the course. He's got like 6,000 students and so, yeah, he gave me the opportunity and it was a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The course, eComm exit strategy, what type of seller, like where in their journey would be most relevant for this course? Is it
For me,
somebody
I
just
think,
starting off, or a grizzled
like I said, it's
veteran?
not a very long course. So you know, it's like a 6-hour course. And I think everybody should get it, you know,
Okay.
because it's you, what happens is you get knowledge. See, you don't want to be, you want knowledge. Right now you want specialized knowledge. And you want to know a little bit about everything, you know, and in this course you'll learn what to do, how to prepare your business to sell, you know, all the pitfalls of the closing process, how to talk to your buyers. See, I want to teach people to build their business like if it was a product that you're going to sell. This is a whole mind shift, you know, and you know, if they don't learn it, they're not going to know it, you know, and even if they learn it, we need to help them apply it, right? So it's going to add value to whoever does it and applies it, right? Yeah.
Well, Sal, you're a fountain of information. I want to be respectful of your time
Yeah.
and start wrapping this up, but I wanted to let people know where they would be able to find Exit Ecom Strategy, how to stay in contact with you. Plus, you have an amazing podcast yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit before we
Yeah,
wrap up?
I just started that podcast. It's called the Performance Accelerator Podcast. Yeah, it's just
We'll link
launched.
to it.
Yeah, you can go there, man. Leave a review if you can, if you like it. If it's something that adds value to you, it talks more about mindset and it gives you like a formula about how to accelerate your performance. I got like 7 or 10 steps that if you apply them in your life, you will become a champion. And I know that because I've applied it since I was a kid. My father taught me these things. And so it's really cool. It's a great, I love it. I'm really passionate about that project. And I think it's going to add value to everybody. And then the e-commerce. So right now, you know, I'm telling people to go to my Facebook page.
Sure.
I haven't built a lot of social media yet because we don't want to get scattered everywhere. You know, you can find me here. I just really want to find me somewhere right now. And the best place is my private Facebook. It's facebook.com it's facebook.com/with-Sal. So easy. I just came up with that name. I thought it was great. It's great.
With Sal. Yeah,
With
that's
Sal.
awesome.
Yeah. Facebook.com/with-Sal. And there you're going to see interviews that I do with people and a lot of great things. And I put a lot of content there. And you can also DM me and we can talk. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the most important person to connect to is with Carlos Alvarez and the Wizards of Amazon. If
Now,
you
you
want to
can be
know,
found in the Wizards of Amazon. You're in the Wizards
yeah,
of
yeah, it
Amazon
can be
group too.
found there. Yeah,
Yeah, so definitely tag Sal in the Wizards of Amazon group. Sal, thank you so much. I feel like I can do this for days with you and still
yeah,
barely
yeah.
scratch the surface. But as always, you've been amazing. I look forward to having you back on the show. Thank you, man.
Hey, Carlos, I really do appreciate it, and I thank you so much for the opportunity, man. I really am grateful, man. I owe
Thank
you
you,
a
brother.
lot. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Have a great day, guys.
You too. Liked what you heard and want to stay connected? Join our Facebook group or find me anywhere on social media at Wizards of Amazon or text the word Amazon to 69922.